Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. So today we continue to discuss about the light of Buddha. And last time we discussed about the story that the woman accused Buddha wrongly, and he responded to her calmly and let the matter uh, reveal by itself. So today we continue to discuss uh, about this life during the uh, eighth season at the Sumsu Manga Viram. Uh, so one day when the Buddha was walking on the road together with this close disciple, and somehow he met a couple. Uh, uh, they are elderly couples. So when they saw the Buddha, they ran toward him and uh, say that, where did you go? Our son, where did you go? And so after saying that, when they approached the Buddha, they hugged him emotionally. So the Buddha just let them did whatever they want to do, and later on, some of his disciples asked the Buddha what happened. So the Buddha said that, well, these couples, they were my parents in the past 100 years, and now when they saw me again, they still miss me. So that's what happened. So in the other version, it said that the old man approached to the Buddha and helped him, as well as called him as son. And the Buddha just let him do whatever he liked to do. But later on, he asked the Buddha permission to become monks. And several days after that, he attained enlightenment. And so some of his students asked him about this matter. And Buddha said that that old man was his father in the past 500 lifetime. And they asked further, the Buddha's disciple asked further, why didn't he become the Buddha father in this life? So Buddha responded that, well, why it was his son of 500 lives. So whenever I did something virtually and wholesomely, he tried to prevent me from doing those wholesome deeds. So grown high about that type of obstructions, and I made the vows that I would not be as his son anymore. So his student asked further that what happened to King Suddhodana? Why did he become Buddha father in this lifetime? So they say that King Suddhodana in the past, when he made offerings to the Buddhas in the past, he made the vows that in the future he would like to be the Buddha's fathers because of his vows. That's why before the Buddha appears in this world, he contemplates who parents uh, would be suitable for him uh, to be devoted into their families. And that's why he contemplated that Queen Maya and King Suddhodana were the best suit for him. And that's why he was going to their families as their son. So let me share with you these short clips about that old man, the one that ran to ask the Buddha and later on asked Buddha permission to become his disciple. So let me show you these video clips. And this all in Chinese, but it has a subtitle in English. I think I can read for you. So here the scene that the Buddha walked from afar with his close disciple, and the old man approached to him, and this old man say, "Oh, son, my son." And so one of his disciples jumped in the front to stop him, but he still called the Buddha, "Oh, son, my son." So the Buddha told his disciple, "Just let him to come and help me, otherwise he vomit and die on the spot." So later on, this old man asked Buddha permission to become a monk. So the Buddha accepted and let other monks give relation to him. And one of his disciples asked him that all Buddhists came to see the Buddha and they bowed to him. What happened to this man? Somehow he called you as his son. So Buddha made him calm and they told the story that in the past lifetime he did so toward the Buddha. He was the Buddha fathers in hundred lives in the past when he practiced the Buddhist conduct. He used to help others during those lifetime. But whenever he helped others and now the wealth, his fathers always obstruct him to practice generously morality. And so that's why he made the vow, I would not be the son of that man anymore. Or to Dodana, again, because in the past, he made the vows to become the fathers of the Buddha after the Buddha explained to his disciple request. So again, this Suddhodana in the past, when he met Buddhas, he recognized how wholesome the Buddha was because they have 32 special marks and 80 minus characteristics. And he made the vows to become the Buddha's fathers. That's why he made him to become Buddha's father here. And here, his disciple asked, what happened? Why this old man became poor? And so he said, because in the past, he obstructed the Buddha to do good deeds. and he did several evil deeds. That's why he was poor, and even when he was old. Mm. And after becoming the monks, this old man one day went to see the Buddhas, yeah, and he showed his appreciation to the Buddha, and he wanted the Buddha to certify him because he had attained ownership, and you see that he flew up to the air, and that's one of his skills, supernatural power of any animals or art. So that's the story regarding about the Buddha uh, father in the past 500 lifetime, and that's so from the 8 um, seasons of the Buddhas, that is Marajiga, and when we talk about the 9th rainy season of the Buddha, is related to the story that happened to Buddha in the Kosambi. So Kosambi was a large town in the kingdom of Mamsa that's located along the Jamuna River. So there was a large monastery that was built there in the large forest, and many Buddha's senior disciples like Mahakasipa, Gorana, uh, and so forth were not with the Buddha during that 9 rainy season retreat. But uh, Ananda stayed back with the Buddha, and Rahula stayed with Shariputra to learn. So in that era, there was many simsapa trees, and the Buddha liked to meditate under those trees during the hot season, hot day. So one day after meditation, he returned to the communities of monks and hold a handful of simsapa leaves. So he hold them on his palms and asked the monks, which brothers, the number of leaves in my hand, a number of leaves in this forest. So the monks replied to Buddha, the numbers of leaves in the forest that to be numberless to compare with the number of leaves that you hold in your hand. So the Buddha said, just so, whatever I see and recognize, that's so much uh, than the thing that I taught you, because I mm, teach only these things that are truly necessary and helpful for you to attain enlightenment, awakening. Uh, so again, the Buddha did not provide his disciple with all kind of information that he had known through his wisdom, but he just selects the important teachings that he would guide his followers. Always, this is the ways of his time and his student. So he mentioned this because there were many monks who have a tendency to lose themselves in the philosophical speculation. That means they just want to discuss about some specific philosophy, not to focus on the teaching and practice of enlightenment. Like one monk, his name is Malunkia Buddha. Uh, he was advised by the Buddha that he's not supposed to engage in some specific questions that was not essential for the practice, because this monk has the habit of asking Buddha such question as whether the universe is finite or infinite, temporal or eternal. So the Buddha has always refused to answer those questions because it's not necessary for him to explain to them those type of physical of those certificate speculation. So one day, this monk felt that he could no longer endure the Buddha silent. So he made determination that he would ask the Buddha the questions last time. If the Buddha still refused to answer, he would ask to destroy and became a lay person again. So when he met the Buddha, he said again, teacher, please respond to my questions. I will continue to follow you. If in this moment you refuse to respond to my question, I will destroy and become lay person. Tell me if you know whether or not the universe is finite or infinite. If you don't know the answer, please say so. So the Buddha looked at this monk and say, well, did I promise to you to answer those questions when you first became monk? Did I promise you that I will resolve solve any of your metaphysical problems? So the monk say, no, you did not. So the Buddha argued further that, so now why do you demand me to explain to you those questions? You like a person who was shot with a poison arrow, and the doctor came to remove the arrows and give him medicine, but the man refused to let the doctor do anything before some question can be answered. So the wounded man demanded that he need to know who shot the arrow, what case the job was of that shooter, and why did he shot him. He wanted to know what type of bow the man used and how he acquired the ingredients to prepare for the poisons. The monk told that, the Buddha told that monk, should that man who died before getting answer to this question? So this is no different for the one who follow the way. I will teach those things necessary for you to realize the way. For those things that are not helpful or necessary, I would not teach. And the Buddha went further and say that whether the universe is finite or infinite, temporal or eternal. This one first you need to accept that they are the presence of sufferings, and suffering has caused uh, uh, people unhappy, and you need to recognize the cause of the suffering. You should recognize that you can transform the suffering into happiness, and in order to do that, you need to follow the Eightfold Paths. Um, so the things that teach you in that Eightfold Paths could help you to attain detachment, equanimity, peace, and liberation. That's why I refuse to explain uh, those certificate speculation that you have posed to me, because I recognize that they are not helpful for you to practice the way. So at that time, listening to the Buddha explanation, this monk asked for forgiveness of his foolish demand. After that, the Buddha encouraged monks need to focus on their practice and avoid useless philosophical speculation and debate. So again, through this story, we see that the Buddha would not respond to some useless questions that would not be helpful for the practice of the way to realize the way of the attain enlightenment. And of course, like the Buddha gave analogy when he picked up the lips, his palms, and he mentioned that he know a lot of things with his wisdom, but he just let out some information or teaching that are helpful to his followers, and that's he referred to this story, the story that one of his disciples like to ask about those certificate questions that not relate to his practice of liberation and awakening. And so he gave knowledge like if someone was shot by a poison arrow, if he just want to investigate who made this arrow, how they make the poison, and what type of arrow they use, and their intention, and so forth. So that meant he would be dead before the doctor could prescribe the medicines for him. So that's why he discouraged his followers not to discuss something as necessary for the path of liberation, path of awakening. Later on, that monk recognized his mistake and asked for forgiveness, and move on to this hearers during the Buddha and Renin retreat. Some lay disciple donate the forest, and also they built 2 monasteries in the forest, and they also built different monastery in the nearby forest. So at the Moshira forest, there were many monks who specialized in memorizing the Buddha teachings, and also there were some monks who specialize in memorize the monastic rule and regulations. And so the one who memorized the Buddha teaching, we call the sutra master. The one who memorized the law and regulations within the monastic communities, um, they will call the precept master. And that's why throughout many centuries, the Buddha teachings, whether it's the scriptures or the rules of the regulations for monks and nuns, were passed out from generation to generation due to the memorization of the Buddha disciple. So many of them put inside what the teachers their memory, like the sutra on the nature of non-self, the sutra of dependent co-horizon, and the sutra on the noble eightfold paths and so forth. So somehow during that year at that forest, accomplished a rose between the scripture recitation master and the precept master. So the argument, the conflict happen occur from a small event that end up in creating a big a serious division in the Sangha or monastic communities. So the story is well like this. So the scripture master, the one who memorized the sutra of the Buddha's teaching, somehow this master, this monk, forgot to clean the wash basin that he used, and were charged with violation of the lesser precept by the precept master. So for the scripture master, because he was so proud that he could not accept that type of accusation, since he didn't have intention to leave the basin dirty. So he thought himself that he was not the one, but not the blame. But on the other hand, the precept master had evidence to accuse the scripture master that he didn't clean up the base, the sin, after eating. Of course, their students in both sides take side with them, and the arguments and conflicts escalated. And so one side accused others of slander, while the other side accused their opponents of acting foolishly. So finally, the precept master publicly announced the scripture master mistake progression and prohibit him from attending the bi-weekly precept recitation ceremony until he formally confessed before the Sangha his mistake. But the scripture master would not accept that. That's why the situation grew more and more intense. So both sides spoke ill of each other. So they accuse and slander each other. like shooting the poison arrow with each other, and most of the monks took the side either with the scripture master or the precept master. So that's why they create this harmony within the monastic communities. But for others, monks who didn't involve in this type of conflict and feel it in the impartial ways, and so they recognize so terrible, it's so serious that this type of conflict and argument only lead to the harmful disharmonies or division within the monastic communities. So sooner or later, the Buddha was reported by monks about this type of conflicts and argument. The Buddhas went to meet directly with both sides, the precept master side and the scripture master side. He admonished them that you guys should not become too attached to your own views. You should listen carefully in order to understand other people's views. We should seek or means to prevent the disharmony within our monastic communities. So we try to reconcile these two groups of monks, but somehow because they yell and slap each other locally, so that's so hurtful for them to view the conflict, and all the monks, the ones who remain impartial, couldn't have any power and influence to bring the two sides together. So eventually, this conflict spread out everywhere, and the lay people, how about that, especially the non-Buddhist religious leaders, became to know the disharmony and the problems within the Buddhist monastic communities. So this was a serious matter for the Buddhist monastic communities. The Buddha attendants, Najita, tried to request Buddha to intervene this matter to resolve the problems. So the Buddha agreed, and he put on his robes and went to the meetings hall at the monastery. So after the monk rang the bell to summon the monks, so when all of them were present, the Buddha remind them one more time that you guys need to stop argument. You guys need to stop this conflict, because it's only create more disharmony to our communities. Please focus on your practice. If you really focus on your practice, you would not become the victim of pride and anger. So hear that. One monk stood up and said to the Buddha, please don't invoke this and this matter. Please focus on your peaceful meditation. Please don't let this matter concern you. we not to resolve this conflict by ourselves. So here the Buddha stood up and walked away from them. So he went to the house, begged for food, and eventually he entered the forest with himself. So later on, he left everyone behind and walked straight to the forest without having any of his attendants. So the Buddha walked until he reached another town. And that time he met his disciple, Vembo Bagu. So this monk invited him to stay in the forest where he lived alone. So he also offered the Buddha service. And the Buddha asked this monk how he practiced meditation. So this monk replied that because he stays in the forest by himself, he could enjoy the great peacefulness and happiness in the practice. So at the time, told him that sometimes it's more pleasant to live alone than with many people. So after living that place, the Buddha head for eastern bamboo forest. That's not too far away from that place. So when he almost entered the forest, there was a round skipper who tried to stop him, and because he couldn't recognize the Buddha. So he said that please don't go into this forest because you may disturb the monks that have practiced here. So at that time, when the Buddhas appeared, he especially greet the Buddhas and say to the round keeper that here is the Buddha, he is my teachers. We will escort him to the forest. So after that, Anuruddha escort the Buddha into the forest where he lived with two other monks. They were happy to see the Buddha. The Buddha inquired how they live together, how they practice together. Have they encountered any kind of difficulties in begging for food or sharing the teaching with other people in this era? So Anuruddha replied on their behalf and said that we're content here. It is so calm and peaceful. We receive ample support from lay people, and we could be able to share the Dhamma with those followers. So we practice and make a lot of progress in our spiritual life. And so the Buddha asked further that, do you live in harmony with one another? And so Anuruddha replied on behalf of them that yes, we care deeply for each other. We live in harmonies like the milk and honey. I consider myself to live with these two monks as my blessing. I treasure my friendship with them. So before I say or do anything, whether they are here or not, I always ponder by myself whether when they say something or do something, it would harm or benefit them. If it's harmful, I will stop. If it's beneficial, I will share with them. So whenever I have any doubt, uh, of words and action I have to restrain from speaking or doing something that may be harmful for myself and Buddhist monk. And so he explained further that on those there are three persons, but they are in ones. That means they live in harmony without discord, without conflict. Um, so um, um, the other two monks uh, explain to the Buddhas in the same way as the Buddha just mentioned, and they say that they live in harmony and care uh, deeply for each other. They share all things from food to insight and meditative experience. And so the Buddha praised them and say that's so excellent. I'm so pleased to see you living in harmony with each other. So a monastic communities is true only when we live in harmonies. So you have the real experience of awakening, and that's why you realize such harmonies. And so the Buddha spent 1 month with these three monks, and he observed how they treat each other, how they care for each other, how they support for each other, uh, how they work together as brothers, uh, and so forth. Before he left them, he spoke to them one more time that the very nature of the monastic communities is the harmonies, and he laid out 6 types of harmonies that Buddhist monks and nuns or any Buddhist followers need to abide and follow. So the first one is that they need to share a common space, such as a forest or home. Um, so if we live together in families, uh, we work together in the community and so forth, we share a space together. As the first one. The second one is that they need to share the essential of daily life together. Whichever thing happen to them, they need to share because they live together. They share in influence food, influence manners, anything that they have, they would need to share with each other. And number three is that, especially for the Buddhist monks and nuns, they observe the precept together. When they were ordained, they made a vow to observe certain number of precepts. And so as a monk, they observe the same precept together. And number four, they use only words that contribute to harmonies, and they need to avoid all the verbal expression that may cause this harmony to the communities. As mean when we live together, we need to set out some pleasant word to express ourselves so that we could maintain that harmony with other people. If we don't use the pleasant word, if we slander other people while we living with them, there's no way for us to remain peaceful and happy with them. And number five, for the Buddhist monks and nuns, the Buddha say that we need to share the insight and understand together. So whenever they attend some meditative state of mind, insight, they need to share those experiences together. And number six, that they need to respect other people's viewpoints and not poison another to follow their viewpoints. So those are the six um, ways to maintain harmonies within communities, within groups. Since the time is up today, let me stop here and then we will continue to discuss further next time. Nam mô Shakyamuni Buddha. See you soon.